Put on your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar, as the prophecy was foretold. I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And I'm Broadcaster Nickels.
And today, we are going to speak the word of Lucas. We are going to touch the gentle waters that once ran clean but are now tainted by a woman known as Kathleen Kennedy. Nicholas, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad did they mess this movie up?
Rian Johnson haunts me in my dreams. Sometimes.
Do you think he's the secret director of Rise of Skywalker? And it was all just a sham? JJ never came back?
I mean, in a way, doesn't he have to be? Because, I mean, he wrote The Last Jedi. This movie is a sequel to The Last Jedi. I mean, it doesn't matter what they want to say, how much distance he has from a film or whatever. Like, it's still based on the movie he did. So
yeah, I found it
some hand in it.
I found it really interesting that early on, JJ was kind of like, yeah, you know, he kind of screwed some stuff up, so we're going to kind of ignore some of the stuff he did in Last Jedi. Then like 6 months later, he was like, oh no, this is a direct sequel to The Last Jedi. Everything's being kept. I don't know what you're talking about. Like contradicting himself.
Of course.
They
won't say anything until they can.
So the subterfuge, which way do you think it's going? Do you think that they did throw away a bunch of Last Jedi stuff, or do you think that this is a real true sequel to The Last Jedi and not so much as a continuation of The Force Awakens?
Well, I think that alone, them just trying to make that reach is just ridiculous. Like, The Last Jedi is a sequel of The Force Awakens, just like how The Rise of Skywalker is going to be a sequel of The Last Jedi. It's just, all of them are connected. I don't care like what they say about director doing this and whatnot. Like, you may have your reserved opinions on which one's better, you know? Like, I like The Force Awakens one personally. If I remember correctly, you like The Last Jedi a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's like kind of like choosing between being forced to eat shit or puke. Yeah, neither is a great option.
But to answer the question is like, it's totally a sequel. Like, it's a hard sequel from the trilogy that they have built out from the get-go. It's not like any of the characters have been retconned. It's not like they're reviving anybody. No, unlike what everyone wants to believe, like Emperor Palpatine, there is this, I don't know the correct word, like nebulous attitude, I guess you could bring to the table with his powers, you know, where it's just like, well, he did this in that book, and he is like supposed to be one of the most powerful beings in the universe because he was trained by Darth Plagueis. So, you know, there's room for him to come back, but even that, I know it's going to be crap. It's going to be disappointing.
Yeah.
He is one of my most favorite beloved characters, so I am a little bit happy that I get to see Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, no, for sure. When you first see Palpatine use Force lightning in Return of the Jedi, that's one of the most iconic visuals in cinema history as far as I'm concerned. Like that moment where he just puts his hands out and with that smile and just the lightning comes out. I mean, the effects were really cool for their time too. But you didn't see, it was like a superhero effect before they really did superhero effects.
Well, he was like a space wizard. Like, he was like the first space wizard on film, bro. Like, and it looked good.
There's a wizard on that Death Star.
Exactly.
So, speaking of Palpatine, so basically the final trailer confirms Palpatine's the villain of the movie. It was strongly rumored, but that final trailer just 100% confirmed it, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I were to guess, and I haven't really seen anything because I'm just not interested in, like, you know, spoilers or anything for Star Wars. But if I were to guess, like, I would just assume that Emperor Palpatine is going to be the enemy and Kylo and Rey are going to team up somehow. Like, they're going to battle it out all movie, and then they're going to be like, well, you know what? Maybe Emperor Palpatine's a bigger threat than both of us. It's going to be one of those, like, an enemy of my enemy is a friend, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I think it's because they've put most of the movie in these trailers. And it's one of my biggest gripes with trailers in the year 2019 is that they just seem to be pushing more and more of the direct plot into them to the point where you really feel like you saw a movie sometimes when you've seen the trailer.
Well, that's an interesting observation in itself, because I think that just makes me want to talk about fandom and internet culture and stuff like that.
Before we go off on that tangent.
But just to finish it in a little note, that's the main reason why you see trailers like is because these studios are just fucking, they're nervous, man. They're like, every trailer is money, you know, like every step is money. And there's just like this fucking dude on the internet, this chick there that's just about to be like, there wasn't enough LGBTQ, but, you know, whatever, or, you know, and they're like, crap, we have to rewrite the scene because they're definitely going to think it's toxic, you know?
Yeah. So just to go over some of the stuff that I noticed in these trailers, it's just like direct plot points that you wouldn't think would be in a trailer. The first one's the biggest one. Darth Rey with her switchblade lightsaber. It was cool, but why? That if that's true, that's the biggest spoiler in the entire new trilogy, if it's true. If it's not true and it's some psychic vision or whatever, then you're just being a bitch. You're being dicks about it and trying to fool people into watching your movie based off of this thing. Either way, it's not good. And more than that, you're talking about Kylo and Rey teaming up together. They do. It's in the final trailer. There's a scene where it shows them fighting someone together.
Well, they've already fought Snoke.
Right, but I'm talking in the Rise of Skywalker trailer. There is a scene where they're fighting together again. So they're basically confirming what you just said, that they're going to go through the movie. They're going to be like, oh, we're enemies. We have to fight. They're going to fight on the Destiny 2 version of Titan that apparently is featured in this movie. They're going to fight, and then they're going to be like, oh, yay, now we're best buddies. Let's go kill Palpatine. That's nailed it.
Confirmed it's on Titan? You know
no.
You're just making that up.
Oh, no, I'm making it up because the water planet looks just like Titan from D2. Like literally, it looks like they stole it right from the game.
I gotta go rewatch it now because I didn't really pay attention to the
You'll notice it now that I said it, and if you rewatch it, you'll notice it. It's pretty blatant, but then you see all these pictures of like the massive resistance fleet coming together to go against the new, Palpatine super ship. I don't know if it's a Death Star or what, because they didn't really show that. But it just feels like they choreographed the entire movie through those 3 trailers. I feel like I saw the movie already. I really do. And that sucks.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's how all of them were, though. It's what they do because they're afraid. They're just like, you got to give them like this huge preview just so they know it's safe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely what they do now. And it's really sad. But moving on from my old man get off my lawn type gripes about the way they do shit nowadays, one thing I found really interesting about the second trailer is that the entire first half of it was just shit from the original trilogy with sad music trying to get everyone hyped on nostalgia. Did you notice that?
Dude, I feel like the past 15 years have been just ghosts of past good franchises just trying to claw their way into the future. You see Star Wars and Marvel Comics, all that stuff. It's just, Star Wars is so dependent on a trilogy that, how do I word this? Essentially, they are trying to market Star Wars to a bunch of people that don't even watch the original trilogy, which is what the whole thing is based on,
Yeah.
Like it's almost contradicted. They bring in characters like Rey and kill off Han and blah, 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 but they're just like convinced that like all these new age kids are watching these films and care about these films. No, it's just a bunch of nerds like it always used to be,
Yeah, and that's the reason that George Lucas made the sequel or the prequel trilogy. That's why he made it like that, because he knew that if he was going to get kids to watch this, he's got to make some stuff that appeals to kids. That's what the Jar Jar Binks stuff was all about. That's why Episode 1, the Gungans, they were so colorful. It kind of seemed like Aquaman almost, how colorful the Gungans were, and all their weapons were really kind of artistically something a kid would like. And there's nothing like that in this new trilogy by Disney. It's bleaker, less kid-friendly, but also less adult-friendly, because all the adults want old Star Wars. They want the original trilogy spirit-wise. Not, obviously, they don't want to retread, although I guess Force Awakens being popular proves me wrong on that. But I think for the most part, people just want a new trilogy in the spirit of the original trilogy. And they're not getting it, and the kids aren't getting it either. So you're right, they're just kind of in this dead zone where they're not going to appeal to any side except for the woke people. So they're going to add scenes like the capitalist planet on Last Jedi that served absolutely no purpose other than to just say, oh, look at us, we're woke.
Yeah. films are just an old medium, and there's only so much they can do to compete with the fast, short attention span. It's just weird. We see things like this where Star Wars, a huge famous franchise, is just struggling to do something that catches any wind, with its old crowd, with the new crowd they're trying to market to. It's, and then what's the CEO of Disney? I forget his name. We were just talking about something Turner.
Bob Iger.
That guy, he admitted, he's like, we bought Star Wars for way too much money. He said it blatantly.
Yeah, he did. And
Disney can't flip fucking Star Wars? What?
No shit.
What universe are we living in right now? Star Wars tried to be new and it backfired because it wasn't new enough for the new and it wasn't old enough for the old.
So there's a scene where C-3PO has like red eyes, like HK-47 from Old Republic. It's very brief.
All right, I can get behind this. If Palpatine doesn't kill all of them.
That's what I was about to ask. Do you think that C-3PO is going to be like Palpatine's fucking right-hand man, like evil C-3PO?
Dude, that's the type of shit that would just tickle me like red, because I know it will never happen, but that type of writing, fleshed out, like beautiful. Like, why can't we have that? What?
Yeah, it's so not going to happen, and they're gonna find a way to write the lamest possible way that happened and why it happened and all that. Like, we're gonna get to it and we're gonna be like, really?
Well, I'm pretty sure that actually I heard this. You're talking about it, and where I was reading it, they said there was an actual like evil CP3O or C3PO model. Like, I don't know if it was in a game or if it was just like randomly in one of the movies or something like that, but it did have those red eyes. So that's why people were connecting it. I think, honestly, what I think it is, it's from that bit in the trailer where they asked him what he was doing, and he was just like, remembering my friends for one last time or whatever. I think he maybe was like doing some type of data uplink and like just viewing essentially robot porn, just and then his eyes started to go red from hatred. I don't know, some stupid shit.
So maybe maybe there is no Darth C-3PO and it's just a total misread on it. That's possible.
Yeah. Who knows at this point?
So just to wrap up my thoughts on the second trailer, Darth Ray. I think that Darth Ray is real. I don't think Darth Ray is a vision, and I think that they spoiled one of the greatest things that ever happened in this trilogy before it even came out. What do you think? Do you think it's a Force vision, or do you think it's legit?
I mean, I think it's a vision, but I mean, I'm trying to like mull over in my head like how possibly it could be Darth, and they'd have to cover so much. Like, rather it's like she was a spook this whole time. And she was dark the whole time, right? And she was just like out of nowhere going to betray everybody. Or there was some type of natural progression towards the dark side, which they have not shown at all or implied at all.
Right, but I'll counter that and say they never showed any progression with her in any way to begin with. In the very first movie, she goes from never touching a lightsaber to probably being better than Luke in The Return of the Jedi with a lightsaber instantly. Better with the Force than Luke, instantly. There's never been progression with Rey. So why would it be so weird for her to go to the dark side so quickly? It kind of fits.
Well, her mentality is definitely. I mean, if you look at the like light side and dark side users objectively, like most of the time in the comics and books and stuff, they describe the Sith and users of the dark side as these power hungry people. It wasn't like they were necessarily like evil, like they'll just kill your child. Like, they were just hungry for power. Like, even there's cases where like Jedi themselves were just kicked out of the academy and the temples and refused to be made masters, like Anakin Skywalker himself, because they were presumed to be too power hungry or use the Force in too vulgar of a manner. And Rey fits that perfectly. Every time she uses Force power, it's always like in a burst of, like hatred, like, or pretty much only in hatred. Anytime she's used her lightsaber is against, Kylo or Snoke, right? Has she ever whipped out the lightsaber for anybody else?
Well, she never actually fought Snoke, but no, essentially, you're correct. And the other thing that I find interesting is
the
that
Snoke battle.
She seems very easily swayed. So that whole throne room battle, the best part of The Last Jedi, she very quickly decided to side with Kylo and kind of be on his side. And even at the end, when he started to go, like, you know, started to fade into evil, you know, how he's like a good guy, then he starts talking a bit and it slowly fades back into evil. For a minute there, she was sitting there and being like, you know, maybe I will go with him. Maybe I'll be the queen of the First Order. I don't know. But then, you know, she eventually decides not to. But you could kind of see that there was some hesitation there.
Well, in that trailer, they showed a little training montage clip. Remember her using the Force or the lightsaber throw, which is pretty cool. It's pretty dope. Like, we don't get to see that a lot, so that was pretty cool to see on the screen. And that's a pretty vulgar move. She looked like she was pretty pissed in that Force. So. Well,
you're right. And lightsaber throws, for the most part, are a dark side technique. There's only been one Jedi in lore that I know of that has thrown their lightsaber that wasn't a Sith, and that's Jedi Knight Revan from the Old Republic.
Doesn't Luke Skywalker throw his? Oh, wait a minute, that's Darth Vader throwing.
Yes, that's Darth Vader.
Yeah,
yes,
I got it the other way around.
And Darth Vader's the most famous of all the dark side users that throws their lightsabers, but there's a bunch of others too. So it seems like it's kind of a characteristic of the dark side. So yeah, there's various little details and tidbits that kind of point me into, you know, I'm not 100% that she's really going to become Darth Rey, but I'm like 70-30 on it. I'm pretty sure it's not a vision. You just think about it. It's like, why would J.J. Abrams do something so cheesy and cheap for no reason? If you know what I mean? And then put it in the trailer. It just doesn't seem like his style to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that, but there's just a really good excuse for it. And that's that a hole that you go down in, and there was a giant mirror.
Yeah, that's the reason why I feel like there's a 30% chance it's a vision, because even in the trailer they show her going back down, and oh yeah, it's confirmed. Ghost Luke Skywalker is here, and he was waiting for her at the bottom this time.
So stupid.
You could, and the funny thing is when you look at his face in this little cutscene that they show, his face is so like dumb. Like you just look, he's like, I'm really in this movie again. Like that's the face. Yeah, it's like, why am I here?
You can claim you have the tinfoil hat on as much as you want when you're getting told by people that think you're crazy when you talk this type of stuff about media and whatnot. But you could just look at clear-cut examples like fucking Mark Hamill, you know? That guy, watch any interview he's ever had for the last two Star Wars. They're terrible. The guy has no happiness. He looks like he was drugged there. He's just like, and sometimes he has words. Like sometimes he's pretty reserved, but other times, like there's a famous video where he's at a college doing a talk, and he forgets because he's probably high that the mic was on.
Allegedly high. Allegedly.
Yeah. Yeah, allegedly. We did not supply the crack. but you know, he like just starts fucking ranting about how they're mishandling Star Wars. And then at the last bit, he's like, oh shit, is this mic hot? You can watch that online. They're like all there. So it's like he's Luke Skywalker. If Luke Skywalker, it's like the Queen of England, you know, not I don't even know because I don't know what to say with that, but you know, it's like the Queen of England not condoning something in England.
Well, basically at this point, all of the living members of the OG cast are negatively on record about the new trilogy. So obviously Mark Hamill has publicly railed against The Last Jedi several times. I saw a montage where I think 6 or 7 different interviews he was talking shit about it, basically.
He looks dead on the inside.
And then you have Anthony Daniels, the guy who does C-3PO, who has also publicly criticized the new trilogy and the way they used the old characters. Now, Carrie Fisher's obviously dead. You can't really get her opinion, and you know the guy who played the original Obi-Wan Kenobi always hated Star Wars, so God knows what he'd think of the new one if he hated the OG one.
He's probably like the most powerful Sith Lord of us all now. Absorbing the fandom menace hatred for how long?
And you got Harrison Ford, who's also been on the record saying negative things and basically saying that he should have been killed off in the Return of the Jedi, and that him coming back for the Force Awakens was only to fix their error of not killing him off in the Return of the Jedi when he thought he should have been.
Yeah, well, I don't want to offend him or anything, but he says that about every movie he does a sequel. Like, he's pretty famous for that.
Really?
Yeah, he thinks he has this idea that like all of his characters should just die. Like there should be just these one shot. I might be taking that a little out of context, but I remember watching the interview where he said it, and he was just pretty much like, someone asked him if he enjoys revisiting films he's done, like doing sequels and stuff, and it was during the Blade Runner 2049 movie, and he was just like, yeah, as long as they kill me. You know, like I think characters are just better that way, essentially, you know. And then he ends up not dying in 2049.
That is pretty funny.
Spoiler alert, sorry.
How dare you? Yeah, I didn't know that about him, but I find that really interesting because he's kind of right. Like the shows that you like the most, the movies you like the most, there's always key deaths in it. The reason people like Game of Thrones is famously because they kill everyone.
Well, yeah. And it also, I'm going to go full circle with this freshness. People like it because every episode, someone's dying, a new character's introduced, you get to make a new favorite character. So, because if your favorite character dies or your most hated character dies, then you got to pick another character. And then the engagement is just so much more, right? So I feel like things that are short but sweet, or things that keep it fresh, like Game of Thrones, like you're saying, are just really good formulas for entertainment.
Yeah, definitely.
Why do you think that famous high school anime in Japan is so big? The one where they all kill each other, like over and over. It's like a high school of battles, right? Like they're just murderers.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about, but I don't think I've actually seen that anime.
It's only spun like, I don't know, a billion fucking spinoffs.
Yeah, I think I saw a movie based on that anime called Battle Royale. I don't know if that's the same thing, but I think it is.
Maybe. High school. I don't want to say it's High School Dead.
Well, bringing it back to Star Wars, why the fuck is Kylo Ren so fucking moody? Every single one of these movies, he comes back moodier than the last one.
Probably because of the drugs they have him on. Keep them in there. I'm telling you, they're all drugs. I'm just fucking with you. He's a white male. That's why they want to comp. He's a young white male. God forbid they put a young, powerful white male on the screen and make him evil and make him part of the fucking Third Reich-esque fucking empire. That would be a problem. So what they do is they make him emotionally unstable to give him a weakness, a chink in the armor. You know.
Well, this time it wasn't even emotional instability. It's just like he's approaching Rey on the Destiny 2 Titan ripoff bridge, and like his hair is totally soaking wet. On that hill. I'm gonna be interested when I watch that. His hair is soaking wet, like he's in like some love song music video, approaching Rey, flipping his lightsaber back with this pouty look on his face. It's just like, dude, why is every scene do you have to look like that?
Well, I think if my calculations are correct, you know, I'm pretty sure anybody that follows Star Wars at all would know, you know, Luke's kid in the books was named Ben, and there was, you know, like a lot of stuff, you know, but Ben Skywalker in the books supposedly isn't Kylo Ren, which his real name is Ben Solo. But then we found out in the Solo film that Han's last name Solo, it really isn't his last name, that it was just fucking a random name given to him by a guard.
Yeah. I think that's partially why Disney got rid of the extended universe. I think that their attitude was like, you know what? We're going to say we're not using the extended universe. We're going to pick and choose where we rip off the extended universe and not pay the original creator. Yeah. It's a great thing. I personally think, though, this whole Rise of the Skywalker, I think it's Ben. I honestly think that Kylo Ren is really Ben Skywalker. I think the whole thing was a ruse. Well, it would make sense with my prediction of the Darth Rey being real, because if she goes dark side and then he goes light side, that would be one of the weirdest and kind of best twists in Star Wars history if it actually happens. I'm not sure that it will, because I don't think they have the balls to do something that drastic, but at least it's promising. Yeah, it's a promising angle, and it's something that hasn't been done before, really, unless you count like Darth Vader being turned at the very end of Return of Jedi, which I don't really count because it's like the final seconds of the movie, and you don't actually see like a good guy Vader going after anyone. You don't see him like, I'm gonna force push instead of force choke now. Yeah, you know?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I thought the best thing Star Wars has done is Rogue One stuff. I haven't seen The Mandalorian, but
I agreed
think
with you.
Rogue One is still the best thing Disney Star Wars has pulled off. And it was good. It wasn't like I'm saying it was good compared to what they've done. I'm saying that was a legitimate Star Wars movie.
And that's the closest comparison to Mandalorian, and was my number one Disney Wars item until I saw Mandalorian last night. And yeah, Mandalorian dethrones it pretty easily, just with the first episode. And I'm pretty sure you're going to agree too once you see it. But so one of the things that I'm most excited about in this movie is wherever Palpatine's buried or whatever, that I don't know what it is exactly. It's like a frozen mirror lake that looks like it might be space, but it also might be like a lake reflecting the top. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, dude, they're about to pull some fucking Gurren Lagann shit, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Everyone's going to get to the edge of space and fucking Emperor Palpatine's going to be there waiting.
That's exactly where my brain went when I saw it. I was like, dude, this is some Gurren Lagann shit. This is really cool. And then right after that, it shows the Star Destroyer come through the frozen lake too, which was really cool. So it seems like they're really going hard on the cool mythology stuff in this movie compared to Last Jedi and Force Awakens, which neither of them really had anything cool mythology-wise. Like, I guess the coolest thing would have been that Hoth imitation battle with the red snow coming up, but it was kind of ruined by Rose Tico, so she kind of tainted the whole scene with her stupid, whatever you call that, decision, horrible writing, put a gun to your head moment where you just want to pull your hair out, how stupid it is. She totally ruined that. And I'm really hoping that all the cool stuff I've seen in Rise of the Skywalker isn't ruined equally by Rose Tico. So I'm officially on a Rose Tico watch for this movie. I think that she could ruin it, or if they don't include her very much, it may be saved.
I'm actually pretty sure that there was an article, there was like rumors or something. Yeah. That's removed from Star Wars merchandise. Yeah, so there... Back in October, there was an article published that are like, some journalists essentially were saying that Rose Tico was being removed from Star Wars merchandise, and I don't know where they're trying to figure out real quick where this was all being sourced. I think the main source is the new poster that's coming out for the Rise of Skywalker. Is she's absent from the poster. So people are suspecting that she's going to get killed off at the beginning of Rise of the Skywalker, or that she's just not performing so well to the point where they just don't want to waste money on featuring her.
Well, I think that's great news, because I think Rose Tico almost single-handedly ruined The Last Jedi. All of the worst parts of The Last Jedi involved Rose Tico, except for Space Jedi Leia, that whole thing.
I could point out so many cringe moments in The Last Jedi.
There's a lot of cringe moments.
There's a lot of tragedies, too, like Benicio del Toro. Mm-hmm. They got a fucking hitter like that in the movie, and they gave him like no screen time, dude. That guy, have you ever seen Cesario, bro? Like let that man act. Like, unbelievable. You fucking bring him in, and then there was fucking Rose Tico's sister at the beginning of the movie, the shitty pilot that kicks off the movie. Wow, what plot development! Wow.
with by the way, like one of the biggest plot holes in the entire movie, where the bombs somehow defy gravity and just drop like they're on Earth.
Yeah, well, I mean, so many things.
Yeah, this isn't we could critique Last Jedi for probably 6 hours straight, so we should probably get off that track. Yeah. So the one other thing that I really wanted to talk about was that final scene in the final trailer with Palpatine. Did you notice that there is a machine connected to him behind him, almost like a Ghostbusters pack or something, like the Proton pack? Did you notice that?
Yeah. Probably some type of life support.
Life support? You think it's life support?
Of some kind, or maybe, I don't know. I'm only speculating. Like, why would you have it on?
I was thinking it was a force amplifier, and it turns his force lightning into some, like, force storm type action. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be dope.
I have a feeling we are going, like, the way that the Darth Vader fight in Rogue One, The way that they did that, and every OG Star Wars fan, literally their mouth dropped to the floor for that entire scene. I think we're going to get the Palpatine equivalent of that in The Rise of Skywalker, and I think that's why it's going to end up being the best of the movies just by default, because I have a feeling we are going to see Palpatine do some shit. I'm not sure what the context will be, who it'll be against, but as soon as I saw that backpack on him and I saw him start walking down towards Rey at the end of that trailer, I just got goosebumps. I just knew something crazy was coming after that.
Yeah. I mean, I only can hope, man. It's been a pretty rough trip for Star Wars, so
it's been a rough trip for the actual trilogy. Yeah, I would argue that Rogue One and Solo were both good movies. Rogue One being clearly better, but still, Solo wasn't bad.
I liked Solo too, and I'm really surprised with. I mean, don't get me wrong. The guy they got to play Han, probably not like the best pick in the world, but it wasn't like it's not like it was B. Schlock or something like that. And I thought the character design, like the outfits, especially like the Raiders, I think they were called. Like I thought that was all really cool. The train scene with forget the material they were trying to get, but and then they go full circle with having a little bit of that on the ship when they're trying to escape the space monster, and then they end up doing the
Kessel Run,
the Kessel Run, and they explain how he was able to break the record or whatever.
Yeah, I like that. That was my favorite part of the entire movie, the Kessel Run, and I saw the internet, and the internet hated it, and that really confused me.
I think it was just the act, because I'm not a huge fan of what's her name from Game of Thrones. I think she's just terrible. I think she's hot as fuck, but I don't. I think she's a terrible actor, and I know everyone didn't like Han. And they were all complaining that he was getting cucked by her. They were really fixated on that thing. That's the shocking thing about it. Like every time someone has negative stuff to say, usually that's the first thing. Like, oh, he was just a pussy. Like he got cucked by his girlfriend. I was like, well,
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, she basically conned him. But
yeah, she's an evil bitch.
Yeah, like what does that?
I mean, it's called character depth. All right, yeah. Like why? I mean, she's in. It's so weird. Like people come at characters nowadays like they should be tailored to their expectations and not to the story they were written in, which is just preposterous to me. They're like that character doesn't fit my perspective on the world. It was just like, well, good. Maybe the story is not for you. Fuck off. It's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I think Solo caught a lot of extra criticism just because how pissed people were about The Last Jedi, which I kind of understand, but at the same time, show it with the box office. Don't go to see it in the theater. But then after you do see it on Blu-ray, then give it the praise it deserves. Maybe not a lot, but some. Don't sit there and act like it's as bad as Last Jedi.
No, I'd watch I'd watch Solo way more than The Last Jedi. I've only seen The Last Jedi once, and I am watching it again.
Yeah, same here. I almost watched it twice with Rachel, and then she got 10 minutes in, and she's like, screw this sucks. And I was like, thank God, I didn't want to watch this again. But just to close out our discussion of Rise of Skywalker, the last thing I want to bring up is the Knights of Ren. The Knights of Ren were really played up, and they have been MIA basically the entire time, unless you think that the Red Guards in Snoke's throne room was actually the Knights of Ren. I don't know if you think that or not, or if that was ever confirmed by some sort of source that I'm not aware of, but do you think that this movie is going to feature the Knights of Ren more prominently?
I don't know. Like we were discussing earlier, the trailer seems to reveal quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I'd be surprised to see the Knights show up in any significant way,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. In those trailers, they don't show the Knights of Ren at all, as far as I can tell. And for them to not be in any of it kind of makes me think it's going to be like before. They're either going to barely show up or not show up at all.
I think what it was is that this is one of my main gripes with Star Wars movies is that they seem to shy away from having too many duels when it'd be way better if they had more. But anyways, what I'm saying is the Knights of Ren, that's a lot of Force users, right? And a lot of people that are specialists and stuff. So people would kind of want to see action from them. And I think they just kind of scrapped them, to be honest. They're just too busy of a movie, essentially. They're already fucking up so much they didn't want to fuck up or add something else into the mix.
Yeah. And to be clear, do you think that the guards in Snoke's throne room were the Knights of Ren?
No. I remember reading something about that, after the movie first came out, but I tried looking it up, or I don't know. It's been a while since I did any type of research like that, but I remember trying to look for it again and I couldn't find what I was talking about. So I don't know.
So
If you found something, that'd be interesting.
So in closing, I'm going to say that I am cautiously optimistic for this movie more than I was for Last Jedi, because I actually hated Force Awakens. So I was totally expecting something horrible when I went to see Last Jedi. I wasn't like everyone else who thought it was going to be great. So this one so far is sort of the high mark for my anticipation. I have this gut feeling it's going to be the best of the trilogy, but what do you think?
I mean, I'm just so burned by Star Wars, and I think it has potential to be the best one in the trilogy for sure, because these first two are just such crap, essentially, that if they even remotely try to do something right, that it will be better than the first two.
Yeah, it's not exactly a high bar to get past.
Yeah, but I have this gut feeling that the movie is gonna do the exact same formula. It's gonna not explain 90% of anything. It's just going to gloss by everything and expect you to be cool. I mean, are they ever going to explain Snoke? Are they ever going to? I mean, like,
I hope
what is
so.
all this shit? Like,
all right. Well, yep. So it looks like we're both cautiously optimistic, and we will definitely be reviewing this movie when it comes out later in December. And we're back to do our Modern Warfare review. We will be talking spoilers for the campaign, so if you have not completed the campaign, you should probably pause right here and come back later. But starting in with the review, Broadcaster Nickels, what do you think of the new engine?
frankly, it's stunning. Seriously, it's beautiful. It's probably the best engine for the time, obviously, I've ever seen in a Call of Duty game. Looks like they really went for the big one.
Oh, for sure. It's quite impressive how they got the graphics as good as they did. The explosions and the effects are so much more real in this one compared to any of the other Call of Duties I've played.
Yeah. Night mode looks amazing.
It kind of turned the game into a war simulator. It used to kind of be an arcade shooter, but now when you play it, especially on realism mode, you sort of feel like you're in a simulator, not so much a game.
Yeah. I mean, for the first few missions I did, but I'm so like, I have such a rhythm with FPS games now that like I usually like acclimate really quick. I mean, I tore through this mode. I remember looking back and just being like, that was really the hardest mode?
Yeah, for sure. The checkpoints are the only thing that makes realism easy. So if you think about like each level, if there were no checkpoints at all, how much longer do you think it would have taken you to beat it? Probably like 20 times longer.
Oh, for sure. Because frustration comes with that level of challenge too, you know, where you'll just fucking not play it for a day because you're so pissed.
Yeah. The checkpoints were key to kind of reining in the difficulty a little bit. But I think the overall experience on realism was something else. It was something new and something different. And I think that's what kind of catapulted me to actually finish the game, because there was a couple spots where I almost quit. The story, so let's just get into the story. The story is very generic. It's a group of U.S. soldiers befriending a group of insurgent, Afghani type freedom fighters, seeing, how bad the Russians are and helping them on shadow ops beat the Russians up, but then finding out the terrorists are just as bad and blah, 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 blah. It is the most generic storyline possible. I was very disappointed with the plot. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was cookie cut by nature, but I thought the twists they gave you were pretty cool. I mean, like, you could see it coming, but like, what was that one level where you're defending the hill? You're doing that sniper mission, which was a dope ass mission, by the way. I thought that was super cool. One of the best missions in the campaign,
for sure,
by far. But at the end, where you kind of like you're getting overwhelmed, and you're kind of just like, it's in-game mechanics. You're getting told to go over to this truck, and it's like you're playing realism. It's not on your HUD at all, so you're kind of like, what fucking truck? Like, you finally get over there, and as soon as you get near it, or I should say, as soon as you get near it, it goes into like a miniature in-game cutscene where the truck bed latch falls and you see the gas, the Syrian gas or whatever, and it's already rolling down the hill. It blows up and that guy betrays you, and he has to drag you and his sister out the last minute. And I thought that was, like you said, it was pretty cookie cut, but I thought it was well played. Like, I thought the direction of the campaign was really well done.
Oh, for sure.
It
Technically
also
speaking,
linchpinned on on Price. I thought Price in Anthony Jeselnik's doppelganger was like the only two characters with even remotely any, I guess I should just say, you'd want to pay attention to at all. There was, what's his name? Who was in the Piccadilly mission? Who was that guy? He ends up being Gaz. That was cool.
Yeah. I didn't.
Did you play the old Modern Warfare a lot? You remember Gaz? He was part of the original team with Price and Ghost and McTavish, I think.
Are you talking about MW1?
Yeah.
No, I never played MW1. I
think
played.
he was in MW2 too, or maybe he died.
It's possible. I haven't played MW2 in like over 10 years, but I played MW2, MW3, Black Ops 2, and then Advanced Warfare. And then I stopped, and I never did the one after Advanced Warfare. I forget. It's like the space one with Jon Snow in space or whatever. I skipped that one. Yeah. But then I came back to this one because of the new engine, and I wasn't disappointed at all by the engine, but I was disappointed greatly in the oversell of the campaign, because they were talking in the media before this game came out that this entire campaign was going to be on par with the No Russia mission from MW2. That was a bold-faced lie. Maybe 10 to 20% of the campaign was on par with that, but not the whole thing, not even close. And go on.
I'm going to get a little dark here, maybe, but I think, and when I say this, I mean it in this context of video games. The No Russia mission was like the 9/11 video games.
It really was.
It was like everyone was shocked and dismayed by it. Like people even that liked it, they were just like, "Whoa, I didn't know anyone had the balls to do that." So I think we're just a little desensitized, because if I'm talking about the campaign personally, when you're that little girl going through the prison, like how they insinuate you might just have to live through a rape, like when he tells you to turn around, I'm just like, and are they about to make me fucking go through this right now? And then there was the house scene where they have to watch their dad die, and then you have to crawl around as the girl with the scissors. Mm-hmm. You have to fucking that was brutal.
Right. So I'll go ahead and say what I like specifically, and you just kind of named it. So I think that the best parts of this campaign are the very beginning, where you have the attack in London or whatever that city was that gets bombed, because you kind of didn't expect it, and the way they present it in the game especially in realism mode, just kind of jumps at you. It's really cool. And then the other mission that I think was really good is the embassy mission. It was very unique. It had lots of different points. It was one of the longer missions, and it was very difficult, but it was one of the more difficult missions, but it wasn't as crazy difficult as the last mission. That one I'll get to later. But other than that, I think that the backstory missions, what you were just talking about with the kids, I think that was probably the best part of the campaign, which is sad because the backstory is usually what you skip.
Yeah. I mean, that and the, I don't know. There was a handful of missions I really liked, like the raid on the wolf or whatever. I forget that guy's name.
I didn't really like that mission as much. I thought it kind of felt like a House of the Dead mission. It just kind of felt rail shootery and weird.
I just like turning the corners and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. You had to like discern from like civilian and enemy. That, especially on realism mode, like just one mistake, you were dead in that house. Yeah. It was just game over.
Well, I will say that gameplay wise, I think the campaign was pretty damn good. Most of my criticism is of the story. Yeah. Gameplay wise, like the mission you're talking about, it had cool gameplay, but the story of it was just super, it's just like, okay, we're raiding, we're going after a terrorist, blah, blah. It's just the same shit that you're used to. There was very little hook in this storyline.
What about when fucking, you held the gun at the wife and child?
Okay. So let's go into that. So moral choices. This is one of the things I expected to be in this game that was going to be very interesting. I thought they were going to let you do some more dark shit than you actually could. So there's a girl with the detonator in one of the earlier missions, right? And you get to the very top and she acts like she's a civilian. She's like, no, they kept me here. Don't shoot. And you have this moment where you either decide to shoot her or not. And if you do shoot her, you realize she was going for a detonator and she was going to blow the entire house up. So you're like, okay, good thing I didn't spare her. And when that happened, I was like, oh, okay, so if they keep going with this is good. This is cool. There should be lots of this. But that's the last time they basically let you do it. After that, It's all fake. Like what you're talking about with the baby, you can't actually kill the baby.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There's not a whole lot. But I mean, there's also the one at the train station, too, where the main villain or whatever is shooting people, and then he gets that little girl, and then you have the choice to open the door. And, you're not supposed to, but you can. And then he kills the girl and you and your team anyway. And you die and start the mission. All right, your checkpoint. So you may have not done it. I don't know if you did it.
No, I didn't do that one. Okay.
Yeah, I actually tried to see what would happen because I thought that's what you obviously had to do.
Either way, it just seemed like they kind of neglected that aspect of the game. And it seemed like it was they should have highlighted it, not buried it.
Yeah. Then again, it's Call of Duty.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things I did like is the little details we were talking about the kids, the flashback with the kids and their whole backstory. Probably the best part of the game. And I found the way they designed it really good. Like when she's holding the knife, she's like shaking and she's not very good with it. And then when she eventually gets the gun, she can't really aim it well. So it like gimps your aim and it makes it all seem weird. Those little touches really it really made realism mode pop and really make it feel its namesake, real.
Yeah. The kids' missions were definitely cool. Like when you get to when you're trying to escape in the truck, you get the revolver.
Yeah.
You got to kill those 2 guards.
Yeah. It was cool. I like those missions a lot. And it's funny because when I first started them, I like rolled my eyes. I was like, oh, do we really have to do backstory? And then ironically, that basically ended up being my favorite part of the game, at least the storyline, because they had a really cool storyline. Like, I wish they fleshed out the actual campaign storyline like they did the kids' past.
Yeah. That Anthony Jeselnik character, I forget his real name because he's just not. Again, all the characters in the game are pretty much nobodies. Like the only anybody you care about is Captain Price. Let's be real here. Like that's what you signed up for, right?
I think it's Kyle or something like that. But.
Yeah, it is. I think it is Kyle. He just the way he goes out just really irked me, and I didn't even give a fuck about his character. I was just like, really? You're gonna like steal this freedom fighter's thunder? Like, is that like that just doesn't seem like something that would really happen. I know they were trying to make that moment where it's like, let it be me, brother. Mm-hmm. Like not you, me. But it just didn't work in that context. I was just like, she's the freedom fighter, right? I know you guys were building the story up where like you were dismayed at what you saw and you had to go help her fight because she, blah blah blah. But that doesn't give you room to like die for her cause. Like the whole like it's your cause now is just really fucking weird. And also on the fact that like to the two of the really more horrendous scenes in the campaign were actually based on real life events, but they flipped the narrative. It was actually America that gassed those motherfuckers and not Russia. In Russia, they actually banned Modern Warfare in Russia because they're really mad at the way they portrayed 2 of the missions because they were like, that's bullshit. You guys were the ones that killed all those people, not us. Like, how dare you?
That's funny. I remember playing it thinking this game's probably banned in Russia, so it's nice to get confirmation.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just back to Kyle. It's just like, it's just so...
His whole character.
It's like, if you don't like the character, kill him off some other way. Give him a cool death like all the other Modern Warfare characters. Like Ghost was a really cool character, and he just gets explicitly shot. And dies, like that's how it goes down in war.
Yeah, there's a lot of things inexplicable about this storyline that really pulled me out of it. And one of them is him. Did you notice how quickly he just said, oh, well, I'm this military veteran, Navy SEAL guy, blah, 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 super patriot, but now I'm going to abandon my country and join this terrorist organization. Like, What? It was all really fast and loose with Kyle. Kyle's a real fast and loose type of guy. That's his character. All right. On the other hand, though, Price was written brilliantly. He was probably the best written character in the entire game.
He sewed that campaign together with his mustache, dude. That character is just, I don't know a lot about Captain Price. No one does. He's like your virtual video game dad. You're just like, oh, Captain Price is back? Sweet, dude. I love Captain Price. I grew up with Captain Price. Don't know why I like him so much. He's pretty much a murderer, but whatever.
That was one of my favorite lines in the game, by the way, in the storyline, when they have the wolf and they're talking to him and they're calling, you're a murderer. We're not going to deal with you, blah, blah. And then he looks at him and he's like, aren't we all murderers in this room? That was probably the best line in the entire game.
Yeah, because that's what it really fucking is.
Yeah. So what'd you think about the mini games? So like there was one where you're like an air support gunner. And then there was one that was like Metal Gear Solid guiding someone through that civilian, guiding her to the door.
I thought it was all cool. I thought all of it was pretty dope.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the mini games were really cool.
I was especially a fan of the Metal Gear Solid one, where they had you sneaking through the office, viewing through the different cameras. But the one that really was cool for me, and it wasn't really a mini game, but you kind of just made me think about it, was that night mission when you get ambushed and you have to shoot the flares up from the mortar. And it illuminates the field, and that's when you can see all of them. Oh,
that's the embassy mission we were talking about earlier.
That is the embassy.
The second half of it, yeah.
That was probably the most tense mission. They really packed a punch in that mission.
Yeah, so like if you're talking about immersion, I think that the immersion peak for me was in that mission, the embassy. I was so in it. By the end of it, it felt so long. I felt like I really was a sniper just getting tired at the top of this building from this nonstop assault. Like I just really felt immersed more than I have at any other point in the campaign.
Yeah. That, and I don't know what the sniper level was, but that one was super dope. I was impressed with that one. Just the amount of like view you were getting to do a sniper mission was really cool.
Yeah. When they started doing the suicide trucks, that got my heart pumping. So what was your favorite mission out of all of them?
I think it was Embassy. I think it was definitely Embassy. That was just a really cool mission.
Yes.
They really gave you the feel of like being trapped in like fucking a war zone in Baghdad or something.
Yeah, and it was based off real life events too. Like a few of the missions you noted are based off real life events. That whole thing was based off Benghazi.
Oh, was it?
Oh yeah, the whole thing was 100% based off Benghazi. Another thing,
pepperonis, Hillary.
Yeah, we came, we saw, he died. So I love that mission too, but my actual favorite is the second to last mission called Going Dark. And the reason I loved it so much, there are two reasons. One, our military shooter dad, Price, was playing Overwatch the whole mission. Like he was on radio with you, guiding you. He was doing cover fire. It was just really cool to have him kind of having your back for an entire mission like that. And then the actual gameplay itself was a straight up Metal Gear Solid level. Like it was straight up a Metal Gear Solid game on that one level. And I fucking loved it. I loved everything about it. And I wish more of the game was like that. What do you think?
It's a fine line, like when you play Call of Duty, it's like people are just not playing it for a stealth game. So, I mean, I personally would love it, but I understand why they wouldn't get carried away with that particular element, because it would just start to become a different game.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It'd be cool if Call of Duty like made a spin-off that was more stealth-fast. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'd be interested at least to see what they would do with it.
Yeah, there's like 14 missions, right? I feel like you could do 3 of them like that, couldn't you? That's not too many.
I think all their sub games are becoming shit anyways, like zombies, and they just let Blackout die on a vine, It's like, let's try some other things,
Yeah, for sure. So your favorite level's the Embassy, mine's Going Dark, but what would be your second favorite then?
My second favorite? I think it'd be that sniper mission with Kyle.
Okay.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one a lot too.
I might be forgetting some missions. Like the whole campaign was super cinematic, like at one point I forgot I was even like past multiple missions. I thought I was still on the same missions because I thought I like almost fooled myself into thinking this was all just one big movie I was playing.
Yeah. The first 5 go really fast, I noticed, but then towards the middle it starts getting a lot more long. Each mission gets a little bit longer, and then So I want to go into my problems with this game now. The FMV slowdown. Did you notice that, or is that just my machine?
Everyone was plagued by that.
Every cutscene, it would just start slow to like a 2 FPS crawl with the voices fucked up. So like you'd miss lines in the cutscene. It was horrible. How does that get past QA in the year 2019?
I think it has everything to do with their CPU load. I think it just plagues the game all around. Starting multiplayer, starting the game up, FMVs in the campaign, everything. The menus are just like everything is just plagued by the CPU just getting maxed.
I'll accept it with menus, but I will not accept it with FMVs that are supposed to convey the bulk of your goddamn storyline. That's bullshit. Another thing I really didn't like is the we kind of already talked about it, the no moral dark side. You're not really allowed to go dark side in this game, and I thought you were going to be able to, but they kind of force you to stay within the lines a little bit more than I was hoping. And another thing is, did you notice they reused a lot of assets throughout the missions?
What do you mean?
The biggest example I can think of is, the mission where you're going into that hospital to siege the wolf?
Yeah.
You remember how there'd be like little kid drawings on the wall on certain parts?
Oh, you saw that in other places.
They took those kids' drawings, were in 3 other different missions in different places in the world. The exact same kid drawings.
Yeah, that's horrible. I didn't notice that. I wonder if they did that on purpose. If they want to give a fuck. Were they really prominent?
They weren't that bad, but it's still like the thing that I was going for with this game is realism. That's why I put it on realism mode. That's why I played it with headphones in a dark room. I really wanted to play it with as much immersion as possible. And when you see the same kid drawing in 3 different places in 3 different parts of the world, there was even one in the flashback 20 years ago. Same kid drawing. And granted, I'm the type of person that notices shit like that more than others. But still, I'm sure a lot of people noticed it. Do you think, though, that there were weird difficulty spikes? Because that's another one of my negatives, is I thought that in realism specifically, because I did not play any other mode other than realism, it felt like some missions were super easy, and then randomly the difficulty would just spike insanely.
Well, yeah, there are night and day difficulty differences for some of the missions, but I mean, if we're comparing more intensive missions side by side, I think no, I wouldn't say. Like when they were meaning to have missions where there was a lot of engagement, I think they're all pretty much equally difficult. There was something I kind of noticed when we were talking a while back about you getting stuck on that level. It made me think, because back at the embassy level, I remember getting checkpointed right next to this Humvee that explodes, and like it just instantly criticals me, and I'm like, where I checkpoint, the enemies are just coming right past the wall, so I'm just getting riddled with bullets. So every time I spawned, I would like have 3 seconds, if that, to try to get out of there, and I think I had to respawn like 10 different times to survive to get out of that checkpoint.
Yeah, I noticed that a few times too.
So I think checkpoints suck, I think, is what we're really talking about. I think the checkpoint system really fucked.
Yes. Yeah, I think they got it right with most of them, but there's just a few spots. So now I'm going to bring up literally the thing that dropped my grade of this game down a full grade because of this one part of the game, and I'm talking about the last level. So early on in the last level, you start off with a tank it's basically going up this hill towards the chemical factory. And the tank eventually blows up, and that's a checkpoint. Right when the tank blows up is a checkpoint. Now, this checkpoint increased the difficulty, as far as I'm concerned, by about 3,000% compared to the entire game that came before it. I don't know what happened, if I just got into a very weird save state that was glitched or something. So what would happen in this checkpoint is that as soon as I spawn, the Humvee in front of me blows up, damages me, and 3 snipers immediately try and take a headshot at me. So as soon as I come out into the save state, I immediately have to dash behind cover to not die. Now, that's all well and good, but at this point, I start hiding and I notice all of my AI follow me. They don't give cover fire. They don't engage in the battle. They just follow me like retards, and then they huddle in a circle right next to the spot I'm going for cover in. They don't do anything. They just sit there. And I'm just beside myself, like, what is happening? We're in the middle of a crazy war, and these guys are just huddled next to a rock doing nothing. Not only that, as soon as I try and come from hiding and to participate in the battle, every single enemy on the map immediately takes headshots at me. Not at any of my allies, just at me. and none of my allies will help. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in a video game. I sat there for 3 hours trying to beat this level because I would get all the way to the end of this encounter right before it's probably going to go to the next checkpoint. And then some invisible sniper from a direction God knows where would kill me and I'd have to start over again. It was enraging. And most of the rage comes from the AI. The AI in this game is horrible. You don't notice it a lot early on because it's not that hard of a game. You don't really need them that much for most of it. But as soon as you get to the point where you need them, you realize they're fucking retarded. They are sitting there doing nothing. It is some of the worst AI I've seen in a military shooter campaiging ever.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I noticed it on that. I definitely noticed the AI on that level, but I didn't have much trouble. I pretty much was just using and abusing that laser pointer that calls in the missile strikes, because when they give that to you, I pretty much just primary that weapon and I just hide around corners until I can use it again.
Well, that's all well and good, but the problem is the 7 snipers scattered throughout the map that you can't see that immediately headshot you as soon as you pop from behind a rock. So how did you deal with those guys?
I killed everybody. There was no snipers I couldn't eventually find. I know there was like some snipers that were spawning on the 2 like cylindrical towers at the top, not the towers you can blow up. But
I know what you're talking about. Those ones I killed immediately. As soon as I'd spawn into the checkpoint, I'd kill those ones up there that you're talking about.
I feel like those kept on respawning. I feel like I killed those like 3 or 4 times each.
Dude,
they just kept on coming back.
When I got to hour 2, I was convinced that Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5 was in this level fucking with me, dude. I would get to the end of it and just be like, thank God. And then out of nowhere, I'd get sniped and I couldn't see where it was coming from ever. It was incredible. To this day, to this moment, I don't even know how I beat it. Just on one of the times, I somehow got them all. It's like a blur. And I think that it's possible that I just got on a really weird checkpoint that most people don't get. That's possible. But either way, my criticism of the AI is valid. The AI is god awful and they should be ashamed of it.
I wonder if it's realism too. I wonder if they dumb down the AI and like just to give you more of like a immersed feeling. So like enemies weren't just trying to walk, or your AI wasn't trying to walk in front of you and try to fire at an enemy you were firing at,
Well, that goes against realism because in real life, every single enemy on a map isn't going for the player, for one person.
That part of it's stupid.
Yeah, so it goes against what realism is, but it did make it harder, if that's true. So, technically speaking, I guess it would make it harder, but not in a good way. That was not fun difficulty. That was not Bloodborne. That was the worst kind of difficulty. And it seriously impacted my thoughts on the game in a big way, bigger than I can think of any other game having one single moment that so negatively impacted my opinion of the game. But that being said, is this the best military shooter campaign of all time?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Definitely good.
I'm going to say it is. Yeah, I'm also going to say it is. I love MW2s, and that was my previous favorite military shooter campaign. But I have to admit that while MW2 had a higher peak, the valleys were lower. And I think overall, this new Modern Warfare is a little bit better.
Yeah, overall it's better for sure. Modern Warfare 2, I think, just really lives in the light of No Russia.
It does. If No Russia was cut out of the game, it wouldn't even be anyone's top, probably.
Well, I think the multiplayer revolutionized around that time. Really becoming something people were foaming out of the mouth for.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Even with this new engine and all the good points we've talked about, I still am not a huge fan of the multiplayer, and I find myself wanting to go back to Blackout, which is really astonishing to me. And it's not because the gameplay's bad. I think it's the best multiplayer Modern Warfare's ever had. I don't know why I just am not interested in it. I think maybe the concept.
Play Blackout, probably.
I think the concept of standard multiplayer in a military shooter bores me to death now.
It is. It's become super stale.
Yeah.
It truly has. It's the most oversaturated game genre of all time.
For sure.
Everyone has an FPS. Everybody's mama be playing an FPS, all right? Like, that's how it is.
Yeah, and as much as all the shit I just talked about the campaign, if it weren't for the campaign, I would have felt robbed by this game. The campaign is the only thing that makes me feel like the money was worth it.
That's too bad. I mean, I personally love the multiplayer.
I think that if you did not play this game, I would have never played the multiplayer after the first match.
Wow.
And I think even with you playing it, I'm probably not going to play the multiplayer for much longer. I just have a feeling we're going to drift back towards Destiny or something else new that's coming. I don't feel a staying power with this game at all. Do you?
I mean, I think it's definitely going to be my competitive shooter. I mean, Destiny's definitely not my competitive shooter. I love
for
Destiny,
sure.
Don't get me wrong. I'll definitely be coming back to that. But between Death Stranding and Call of Duty multiplayer, I mean, those two are my jam right now.
Do you want a competitive shooter, though? I guess that's what I'm getting at, because
Absolutely.
Modern Warfare is the best competitive shooter, I think, right now, but I'm still not interested in it on a core level. So you're saying you are?
Yeah. Well, I've always jonesed for competitive shooting, like ever since Halo 3. You know? I always thought that was where FPS games should be at, you know?
Yeah.
Like real breakneck, like, you know, perfect math. Everything is just there, you know. The bloom's perfect, recoil's perfect, the speed of characters is all equal. There's none of this like loadout. That's the one thing that kind of disappoints me about modern FPSs, and it seems like we just aren't going to look back, is the fact that there is no such thing as just picking your weapon up on the map. There's no such thing as like, oh, that's the sniper location. Oh, that's the rocket location. Like, that's just dead. And I think that it kind of be revitalizing for the genre if they kind of like tried to make a new take on that type of shooter. But now it's all just loadout. Mm-hmm. Everything's loadout.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's one of the reasons I'm sad that the new Doom Eternal apparently is killing their multiplayer, because that's one thing they did right, is that they had that old system of no loadouts. You find your weapons on the map. And I think that's a cool throwback.
Like it becomes a different game when all of a sudden everyone gets thrown onto a map and has to race for their best weapon or power weapon, whatever they feel like is going to give them the edge, you know? And it also makes an interesting dynamic, because there's the people that just let people go get the weapons, right? There's like the spiders that like have the map mastered, and they just wait and prey on people. And then there's people that, you know, can't catch their breath trying to get the rocket launcher because they feel like that's the only thing they can kill people with. You know, I like the fostering of different mentalities in that type of shooter. Whereas with loadout shooters like Call of Duty, because I guess we're getting off topic here, but it's so stale. Like when you're just like, yeah, pick your favorite weapons and just go in. Yep, you're going to get sniped in the head by a guy that's been on the bridge for 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another problem I have is these matches that you get put in, there are people that are already at like Prestige 5, and you've played like 4 matches, and you're going up against these people that have the map memorized. They're literally waiting for you to spawn and instantly killing you with a sniper as soon as you move an inch. And it's just like, do we really have to do this at this point in 2019? Can we not have better queues that don't put the crazy people with no lives in with casuals?
Here's a real thought. Maybe that's why people like Battle Royale so much, you know, because it's still a shooter, but it slips back into that style, minus the gigantic map. You know, you have to find your weapon. It's random with Battle Royale, but you still have to pick up your weapons. I think there's something to that.
I do too, and that's why I'm really hoping that they do a Battle Royale for Modern Warfare, because after seeing this new engine in action, oh boy, if they could pull off a Battle Royale on this engine, it would be glorious. I'm just skeptical that they can, because as we have noted, this game maxes high-end PCs out, maxes them out, just on standard maps. Yeah,
the 2080 Ti or Super can't power your game smoothly. I don't know. Maybe you got to keep it on the test bench a little bit longer.
Well, do you have any closing thoughts before we go to our ranking?
You know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare seems like their best attempt at making something engaging and thrilling since Modern Warfare 1. I feel like ever since then, they kind of been living in the past, like, you know, trying to be. It's like Terminator 2. Like every other Terminator wanted to be Terminator 2, you know? It was like, I feel like they did it with Modern Warfare 2019. I feel like they got back to form, and they're just like, now we can move forward with a solid foundation and make some pretty exciting titles. I feel like that's where they're at. And that kind of gets me stoked for Call of Duty's future. You know, because like we're talking about with potential battle royale and stuff, I really have high hopes for that. Even though it seems technically unfeasible right now, but I think they'll be able to pull it off.
I hope so, because I think that could be very interesting, because Blackout had a much inferior engine, and I think that Blackout is the best battle royale that's ever come out.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying much, because most of the battle royales are garbage. Like PUBG is like one of the most technically flawed video games I've ever played in my life, and Fortnite's made for kids. It's a cartoon shooter. So that basically just leaves Blackout for people that want like a well-coded military style battle royale.
Yeah. Well, I think the mainstream would probably say Apex Legends. I think the majority of people would probably say, as it stands right now, Apex Legends. But I guess Season 3 is like really good.
All right.
I guess everyone's like ranting and raving about it.
It's so weird.
They did add a character that adds like a jump mechanic, I thought was pretty. But anyways.
Yeah, I love Respawn so much, and I love all their other games. I just hate Apex Legends. I can't explain why. I just don't like that game at like a core level. But I guess we're kind of getting off topic with our Apex Legends hate. So I agree with you that this is a huge step in the right direction. The last Modern Warfare I played was hot garbage. It was the one that had Kevin Spacey with the infamous press F to pay respects that turned into a meme that circled the world many times. This is definitely not a meme game. This is a legit game, and especially playing it on realism. And I will close by saying, if you're listening to this and you're about to play this campaign, A, it's been spoiled, so GG on that. B, play it on realism. Because I have a feeling that playing it on realism is much better than, the normal difficulty. I can't say for sure because I had only played it on realism. But with my past experience playing Call of Duty campaigns, this was a different experience. It was something to be remembered, which I can't say about most Call of Duties.
Yeah, that's probably a perfect way to summarize it, really. It's a campaign worth remembering. Coming from Call of Duty.
So with all that being said, let us go to our patented Joker ranking system. Broadcaster Nickels, what rank do you give Modern Warfare?
I'm going to give it a Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. That is interesting because
That's
I was
A, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We don't know our own rankings.
We've only reviewed the documents once or twice.
So it's funny because I was originally going to give it an A rank until that last mission, and that last mission brought me down to a Heath Ledger. I'm going to give Modern Warfare a Heath Ledger. I think it is a good game. I think it's probably the best Modern Warfare, but at least the second best. There's no question it's the second best if it's not the best. But there were some serious flaws, and they were really easy to fix, and it's a shame they didn't. We're not talking about shit that would have been a huge mountain for them to climb. We're talking about making an AI that isn't 100% lobotomized.
Yeah,
and so it was just too egregious for me, and I had to downrank it. So I'm gonna give it a Heath Ledger. I'm gonna say it's a high Heath Ledger. It's not a low Heath Ledger. It's
a Heath Ledger plus.
It's a Heath Ledger plus. So Broadcaster Nickels gives it a Jack Nicholson. Two Spirit Penguin Daniel gives it a Heath Ledger. And with that, we will close out.
The Crack Cellar door closes.
But was it ever really open?